And this is largely irrespective of the headphone. You could damage practically every headphone ever made.
You know what else is really exciting too?
What's that?
And it's not scary. We have all these cool colors in Diana TCs on the website. So if you go to abyssheadphones.com, and I think it comes right up there at the beginning there, you'll click on the custom Diana custom shop. This one is called Caribbean.
Oh.
Because it kind of looks like the waters in the Caribbean. It's nice.
Yeah, but you know what's scarier than that?
No.
Not buying the stand from abyssheadphones.com.
Well, that's true.
That'd be scary
If you're going to
if you
get
didn't have one of those.
if you're going to get a high-end headphone,
Yeah.
you need the proper place to put it.
Safety.
Something that
Safety,
won't
yeah.
tip over. That just solid base for your headphone. We get people ask that a lot. They say, "Where should I put my headphone?" Put it on the stand.
The stand.
It's the stand.
That's right.
Okay, now enough marketing.
Hmm.
These are new products, so we want to just try to show people, obviously that what we got, what we're doing here, which is new. Yeah. So where were we? What not to do with headphones? That's the topic of today's discussion. Well, we got people that are saying, "Well, how should I use this? How should I do that?" And it's a long, drawn-out process because it takes time to learn all the nuances of how to use something. But how not to use something, I think, is a lot more to the point, or how not to damage something, basically what people are asking.
Well, there's also a lot of things that people tend to fail to mention frequently to people, and it's kind of sort of not always spoken, especially to new people that are newer to high-end headphones. There's a lot of things people don't really talk about or are afraid to ask. So I think that's what we should talk about.
That's kind of where we're going with this, where, not only that, people are buying these systems and they've never had one like this before. Maybe they've had speakers before, maybe they've had nothing.
Yep.
But they're spending a good amount of money. They're buying they want nice stuff. They're purchasing it and they just want to understand what to avoid so it lasts as long as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about that. And just off the top of our head, I don't know, what can you think of?
Well, make sure everything's plugged in and soundly connected before turning it on. You don't want to fumble with stuff that's on and connections. You get pops and stuff.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. I know, like in my computer, like you unplug the jack for the headphones jack on it, and it goes, every time you do it. So it's like it's not good to have your stuff.
Actually,
on
that's
it.
one thing to think about is that there's some etiquette involved with how dealing with the electronics, and one of the things when you have an amplifier involved, where you actually have enough power to damage something or potentially damage something. Etiquette is anytime you connect or disconnect anything, whether it be a cable or a headphone, either unplug the gear or at least turn it off. Now, when it comes to a headphone, an amplifier made for a headphone, they're usually designed to unplug and plug headphones in. But it's still common practice to turn the volume to 0 all the way down before connecting or disconnecting anything. And if you're not sure the procedure, then just power it down, because then you can't hurt anything when it's off.
Yeah, that is a common issue. And it's, I think, something you need to overstate. On most amplifiers, high-power headphone amplifiers, if they're powered on, you don't want to fumble with the inputs. So if it's RCA powered or whatever, you have standard line level coming in or XLR or whatever, you don't want to unplug, disconnect, move those around while the amplifier is on. You can get pops that in some circumstances can damage headphones if they're high-power amplifiers. And this is largely irrespective of the headphone. You could damage practically every headphone ever made with a high-power enough amplifier.
It's the same with speakers too. Speaker systems the same way. You don't mess with the cables connecting everything together unless everything's off. Just a bad idea.
Right. Pretty low risk, but that's one of the easiest ways to have a weird situation where maybe you get DC in that goes right through the amplifier, it amplifies it up, and you get high power out. Nasty hum that could pop the driver. Right. It's just in some circumstances, this noise could effectively bypass the volume knob. in some circumstances. Depends on the amplifier design and whatnot. So just because you have the volume down doesn't necessarily mean the high volume can't come out in some circumstances.
Now, this doesn't mean you should be afraid of connecting different headphones to a headphone amplifier, but at least turn the volume
Turn
down.
the volume down. Yeah.
Yeah.
But when you're playing on the back side of an amp, power cords,
Turn it off.
interconnect
Mhm.
cables, turn everything off. Yeah,
Yep.
just a real good idea.
Well, I think it's more of like our kind of problem is being like at shows is people actually do this a lot. So they turn down the volume at shows, and then the next person comes in and they're like, I don't have any audio. You
Yeah,
know,
right.
so that's a different problem.
Did you check the power?
It's
Did
like-
you check the power switch?
No,
Did you
Did you check the
control?
volume knob?
Yeah, is the volume up? Oh, yeah. But yeah.
But no, that's really that's a biggie. I think in terms of saving your ass when it comes to electronics. Moisture is an issue with all this stuff.
Potentially.
Really, you know, none of these things are water resistant. They're not made to work in high moisture content areas.
Right.
You know, especially electronics.
In some areas where it's high humidity and high temperature, it can be problematic for some gear, especially if you frequently handle things like getting out of the shower or something like that with wet hair. If you have a lot of hair and it stays wet for a long time, could be a problem with some headphone designs.
Well, that's true. I mean, you don't want to saturate the ear pads with moisture
Right.
or lotions or hair conditioners. Those things get into the material of the ear pad, and a lot of it doesn't leave. They're chemical based, they're whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're saturating the material. And you can't throw an ear pad in a washer. It's just,
Well,
I mean, you physically can.
well, you could, but
Yeah.
it's unlikely it would survive.
Yeah.
Washers ain't the place for an ear pad. It's this little thing, right? It's not clothing. So for the most part, other than wiping them gently with a wet paper towel and then drying it right away, you really want to try to avoid skin oils or moistures or anything from saturating it. Because over time, that material changes its properties if it keeps getting wet. It's not the same anymore.
well, especially if you have perforated leathers. A lot of people use conditioners on things like that, and it could cause issues because it'll absorb more into very thin materials with perforations in it than the product was intended for. So you got to be careful and generally check with the manufacturer before you start applying products to the ear pads, because a lot of those leather conditioners are designed to conceal dings, dents, scratches, and stuff like that on the leather by effectively shrinking the leather to some extent, and it can cause the dimensions to change slightly on some ear pad designs.
Well, I guess the opposite of that would be too low humidity. Because then we ran in that before where, as you get static, when you're touching stuff.
for electronics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we actually ran into, at a show when it was in Denver, wherever, I think. So it was low humidity. And someone touched the DAC, and the DAC failed because of it.
Yeah. I mean, you're hitting, if you feel the shock on your finger,
Yeah.
you're probably talking 15, 20, 30,000 volts at
Mhm.
least. When it starts hurting, it's even more.
You could get a lot.
That's a lot of voltage. And if it doesn't have the right way to go, if you touch it in just the right spot, it could take out electronics or potentially damaging even in the future. The thing may fail, and you might not know why. It's because it keeps getting zapped.
Yep.
So,
If you are in very low humidity, it's going to be an issue because static will take longer to dissipate, and as a result, you're more prone to building up more of a charge. So it is a serious issue in some cases. Touching electronics when you're zapping everything around you, it probably won't kill it, but it's one of those things where the less you do, the better off you are.
Yeah, for any
'Cause it
electronics.
might kill it. We've seen it happen before. It's very unlikely, but it does happen if you're just always zapping things.
Now, what we learned how to do at shows is you would try to touch, like if you have a metal rack,
Yeah.
try to dissipate yourself on something that's not active electronics,
Yeah.
something metal. I'll even at least try to go for like the top chassis of an amp if I know I'm going to get zapped, to try to at least hit the metal chassis.
That is a
and
fair point.
Not go to the volume control or something that might get into the electronics
Because
more.
where you touch
know?
can matter. Like especially if you touch it like the jack that the headphone connects to, that shell or whatever could be grounded directly to the amplifier, whereas the chassis of the amplifier is typically grounded right to mains earth, and it's not really usually an issue to touch that.
I mean, that's common practice in like computer building and stuff.
Yeah.
You want to make sure you're grounded
When you're
before
home-
you start touching components.
Yeah, well, and I mean, that's really a problem when you're not home, when you're at a commercial environment or somewhere where you don't have control over the humidity. Home, if you have that issue, you should look into getting either a room humidifier or a whole house humidifier. And, if you can get at least the house up to 35, 40%, it's going to be more comfortable, first of all.
Mm.
And secondly, you're not going to build up static like that all the time. And it's, not only that, it hurts.
Well, yeah.
You're walking around all the time, you know. I know I used to have a pair of slippers I'd wear, and the slippers always
Yeah.
it facilitated me getting
It's
charged.
annoying,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And it's like shit. Every time you touch something, shit.
Yeah.
Even doorknobs get you. It's like, why should a doorknob get you? I don't know. It's wood, but yep, it still takes the charge. You know.
Yeah, I ran into that problem in the winter one time. Before I had that's why I had to get a humidifier, because I touched my laptop once and zapped it and it shut down.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, oh man, that's not
Yeah,
good.
no, it's definitely not good. Yeah, yeah. When it knows it's got a problem. But yeah, so that's something to consider with electronics. You know, the headphones themselves.
Yeah, they probably don't.
There's
care.
nothing in there unless they're Bluetooth or something. But I don't think I've ever zapped a Bluetooth headphone. They're all plastic.
Well, usually they're
and
all
stuff.
plastic,
Yeah.
so it's not really an
They're
issue.
not going to take a charge from
Yeah,
you.
they're not connected to anything.
Yeah.
You know?
So, but anyway, yeah, static electricity is something you want to avoid with
Potentially.
electronics. Any electronics. Yeah. What else? You don't want to jam the ends of the cable a lot, like where it goes into the connector. You obviously don't want to yank on them either.
Yeah.
Like, think about when you connect and disconnect cables. You should hold the connector itself.
Mhm.
You got to think about where the force is going. Yeah.
Yeah,
Pretty straightforward for the most part, but you do see people just yank it by the wire,
sure.
and that's not great for
Yeah.
long life.
No, I mean sooner or later something's going to give.
Especially like 4-pin XLRs, they usually grip pretty well.
Some of them are really in there. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, so always grab the connector if you're going to connect a cable. Don't yank on the cable.
Right.
And you know, that's just general practice for any cable with a plug on the end of it. In terms of cleaning, I know a lot of people. We did cover this with the ear pads, sort of, but you know, you really don't want to use chemicals on the leathers of the product. You know, and the only reason you use the chemicals is if they're in that bad a shape, where you need to apply chemicals, you should look into replacing the leathers. I mean, that's the way I see it. You know, it's if they're at a point where simple moist paper towel doesn't deal with it, then you know where they're dirty, soiled, worn, feels like ew when you put it on your face. Just get new ones.
It's kind of difficult to care for leather products well. Some people sell conditioners made specifically for it, and well, some work, some are kind of questionable, but it very much depends on the material. And there's a lot of variations. A lot of people use synthetic materials. Some people use leather. Some people use lambskin, and depending on the thickness and design, they all behave differently. So it's tricky when you start applying chemicals. If you use just a moistened paper towel or microfiber, extremely low risk.
And
So
microfiber's
it's not
the
an issue.
best.
Microfiber, lightly damp, works pretty well.
It's not as
So
abrasive.
That's a very safe approach.
that's what we use.
because you could physically take a paper towel and probably rub leather like a couch or something.
You could rub dye
and
out.
you could actually change the color in that spot, and I'm sure that same thing could happen with
Well,
headphones.
most of those conditioners and stuff, they always say on them, they're like, all right,
Test
test
it.
in a small area,
Yeah.
and there's a reason for that.
Yeah,
you
right. Yeah, especially a whole couch.
know? Yeah.
Yeah, or they'll soak in and stay soaked in, so you'll discolor one spot of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and particularly when you got such small parts on a headphone, it's not. You don't want to test it on a headphone.
Well, yeah.
You know, you're better off not to use it at all. And again, those conditioners are made for big things. You know, like
Car
seats in a car.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
the totally different kind of leathers.
Yeah.
Those things are made to take a beating. You know, they're made to sit on.
Well, they're
for
a
Christ's
lot
sakes. They're-
thicker.
yeah,
It's a
they're
different material.
totally
Oftentimes they're backed by things. But
different finishes, everything. It's not the same. If you use that leather on a headphone, it would be very uncomfortable.
it will be really stiff. Yeah,
Yeah, it'd be stiff.
wouldn't work.
Yeah, so you can't do that. So yeah, you got to consider the thinness of the material, and that it doesn't take a lot of creams, moistures, for it to absorb that. There's not a lot of surface there. It doesn't take much.
Yeah.
And then once it gets into the foam underneath it and stuff, you just don't know how it's going to fester. So avoid that if you can. If you get it wet, wipe it dry as soon as possible, and then you should be good. It's not like it can't handle it. You just don't want to make it. You don't want to keep it wet for any reason.
Yeah. Sometimes we see people wherever they live, it's very hot and humid, and they wear the headphones for very long durations. And then the inside of the headphone will stay wet for a long period of time because they wear it 8-12-hour days. That could be a problem with pretty much every headphone design. So that's a thing you want to try to avoid. You don't want it to stay wet for long durations. Getting wet really isn't a big deal. But if it's soaked all the time and never dries out, can be a problem with pretty much every design.
Well, the key would be every once in a while take it off. As soon as you give it air and let it breathe, the moisture dries up. Whatever's there, it's the buildup that occurs. It's a constant heat and sweat off your
Yep.
face. So yeah, every once in a while, just even if you just pop it open every 10, 15 minutes just to let some air in or put it down, when you go to the bathroom, whatever it is you're doing, give it a break. I think you'll be way better off. You know, you don't have to be, what do you call those people that just like, hardcore, I'm not taking my headphones off.
Okay.
Anyway, but yeah, give it a break for 5 minutes.
We've also seen people have like heavy application of creams on their face, and then they put the headphones on while there's like goo on their face. And it's not really a high risk, but if you do this over and over and over, the leathers can accumulate like a goo,
greasy
on 'em.
feel, yeah.
Real gooey, greasy. It's
Yeah.
very hard to clean. So
It doesn't come out.
yeah, try to avoid that. Otherwise, you're going to massively shorten your pad life.
Or they'll just feel bad.
You'll get like weird,
know.
sticky and gooey. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very hard to
like,
clean that.
or like any like hair gel or anything like that.
Yeah, a lot of
Yeah.
products like that. Cause
It doesn't
issues.
come off. Yeah,
Yeah,
you get,
right.
like,
It's permanent.
Yeah.
So
But leathers are made to be a wear item. So generally, if you take care of them, they'll last 5 or more years. If you use it heavily and you have a lot of like goos on your face, maybe a year or two. It really depends on your use, though.
yeah.
One more thing I think people should be a little more concerned about is environmental issues. Occasionally we'll get a headphone back and there's just like chunks of metal stuff inside it, like visible big pieces.
They were
And-
sanding something.
Yeah, it's like they
grinding something
right. And
metallic.
There's screens and stuff like that protect from some debris, but you don't want to have fine particulate or like big metal shavings all over because it's very hard to clean and remove. In a lot of
Sometimes you don't
cases.
know where it comes from.
Yeah.
Like, you might have been, who knows what you're doing,
Yeah,
sharpening your lawnmower blade, and you
Uh-huh.
just happen to set your headphones down somewhere a week later where you were sharpening your headphone blade,
Right.
and the magnets just attract it, the dust.
Pretty much anything with a
Yeah.
permanent magnet, which is most headphones, is not going to care for that very much. Unfortunately, that's just the reality. You want to try and keep it away from like angle grinders and sharpening your lawnmower blades and things like that, because it could be an issue and it's very difficult to clean.
Yeah, usually the headphone has to come back to us because otherwise if you try to open it, you'll damage, you got a great risk of damaging the driver, which is something else we should talk about. Don't open your headphones unless you know what you're doing.
That's actually a fair point.
Yeah, don't open them. You open them, and the diaphragms and speakers are delicate, and it's pretty much going to be game over if you do make one goof, and now you're in for repairs.
There's a lot of people online for some reason encouraging people to open their headphones. I'm not really sure why, but
They're not too interesting inside.
Yeah.
This is
it's
speaker.
really not that interesting. There's pictures online. You can
Yeah.
look up if you want.
Yeah,
But we have a lot of people send their headphones back because they opened up and poked a hole through something. or
yeah. They
damaged
don't
it or whatever.
realize that big magnet just takes your screwdriver
That's
and
right.
out of nowhere,
Yeah,
it's done.
You gotta
The
be careful
driver's
with that.
ripped, torn,
Don't
and
open them.
there's nothing you can do about
Yeah,
it.
I guess because you're not used to dealing with powerful magnets that you just don't think anything of your screwdriver being here and
Yeah. And it's weird too because I remember when we first started working with powerful magnets, it's a weird thing if you're not used to it because
Yeah.
out of nowhere the tool, you're just holding it like normal, and
Right.
out of nowhere it just takes it.
Well, it's not linear, right?
you know?
So you're a few inches away and it doesn't seem that bad, but then you get closer and it's way stronger. You get a little closer, it's way stronger. So it wants to pull it in really
Yeah.
strongly when you get
And
close.
it's the point where you can't stop.
So
it.
you don't really notice it until it happens, and it's like, oh, well,
Yeah.
now
Yeah.
there's a hole in it.
it's not normal for you to have tools being pulled from your hands. You're not normally to reacting to
Yeah.
that. It's just
Yeah, so it's a good idea just in general because headphones contain magnets and because they have delicate materials in them to avoid tools of any kind from being around the headphone unless you absolutely know what you're doing, which if you do, you're not worried about what we're just telling you. But
well, it helps
You
if you
know?
have non-magnetic tools.
Yeah, right.
Planar
And
magnetics
stainless.
are probably the most sensitive to this because usually they're very large diaphragms, membranes that are thin, and they have magnets that are fairly
Everywhere.
powerful everywhere.
Yeah.
So really try and avoid opening those because it's not a good idea
Yeah.
generally.
Yeah.
But if you want, I mean, you own the thing. You could open the thing.
I
just
remember
think it's a
back in
bad
the day,
idea.
some of the reviewers would open these things when the early days of planers. They'd
Yeah.
open it and ruin
Yeah.
their demo unit. That
Well,
they-
people are curious.
something, you know.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So that was the first and last time most of them would open them.
Mhm.
Generally, there's very little you could do inside there. So
Remember the early? Was it the Odysseys had the dual-sided magnets, and
Yeah.
you open they're opposite
Yeah,
polarity,
trial.
so you're forcing
Right.
the magnets together. So if you accidentally take it apart the wrong way, they just boom, whole thing just blows apart.
some of the assemblies are under pressure. So yeah, it's a problem. You want to avoid opening the things up. There's not really much you could do a
Because
lot
there's
of
no
times.
putting it back together once that happens. It's
No,
over.
usually there's specialty jigs to
You
put
know?
these things
Yeah.
together,
Yeah.
and you really can't do it
Yeah,
yourself.
It's not
that
something you're
easy.
going to hold and tighten a screw.
No.
Yeah, so don't open the stuff. Don't open the stuff. Even if it's not working, it's not a good idea to open the stuff because you'll probably cause more damage than whatever the original problem was. So
Probably actually though.
yeah, you
That
know,
goes for most things, though.
there's nothing you could fix in there. Bottom line is like, remember they used to put the stickers on the back of the stuff? No user serviceable parts.
Right.
Makes sense. You
Well,
know?
see, I think the trouble is you have a lot of companies that tell you don't open it because whatever, and then consumer feel like it's my product, I should be able to open it, service it, whatever. And I entirely agree.
I agree
If you
too.
own the product, you should be able to open it, do whatever you want to it. But in reality, there's pretty much nothing you could do
Right.
inside one of these.
Yeah. Even if
So-
you do look at it, you're gonna okay.
Yeah.
If something is broke, what do? You can't.
That's the
fix
issue.
it.
You can't fix it. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah. It has
don't
to-
open it, really.
Yeah, just get with the best thing is get with the manufacturer. And a lot of times it's not even a damn headphone. It's a cable, a connector, the system. I had people. I mean, I'd say
Oh, that's so
three
common.
quarters of the time
The
they're
cable's
like,
not plugged in
something's
all the
wrong with
way.
my headphone, and you ask them some questions. Next thing you know,
Yeah.
it's not the headphone at all. Yeah, cable's not quite. Yeah, the plug isn't quite all totally inserted.
We've seen a few of those,
know.
though.
Yeah.
People send the headphone back with a hole in it, and it still works, right? Because they obviously opened it up, and wherever they stabbed it, there was a conductive trace.
Right.
Oh, I don't know what happened every time, right?
And there was never
And
nothing wrong with
there was
the
everything
headphone.
wrong, but they said it
Yeah.
wasn't working, but it was because
They
the cable
decided
wasn't
to,
plugged
decided
in.
to try to fix it. Yeah.
Yeah. Because on some of the connectors, you really got to jam them in to get them plugged all the way, and they look like they're somewhat seated, but they're not fully seated, and it's not making good electrical contact.
Yeah,
so-
4.4 millimeters, and even quarter inches. They tend to have. I know the 4.4 is this beautiful plug,
Yeah.
but they tend to have some resistance plugging it in, like that.
Especially
last
when they're
click.
brand new.
Yeah.
Gotta be
Right.
all
last
the way
click,
in.
Yeah, getting the last one in there.
Especially when everything's new. True, out of the box.
Yeah.
Jacks have more contact pressure, and they kind of break in a little bit right up front. So yeah,
Right.
that's true.
Some are actually very stiff.
Even connecting the Diana connectors. I mean, even though they've gone through QC and there's already been a plug in them once, call it a virgin jack. They're a little bit tight at first, so you just get used to it. You put enough pressure till the plug goes in. Don't force anything, but beware that the plug should fit a certain way, and just read the instructions. I mean, we got a real simple,
Yeah.
what do you call it, insert that comes with all our headphones.
Yeah, with some simple pictures.
Shows an X through the way not to have it plugged in, and a good way to plug it in.
Right.
Universal language, photos, pictures.
It's got to be plugged in.
It's got to be plugged in, right? So,
Unfortunately.
yeah. So don't panic. Don't panic when you get something new and it ain't working. Go back through the whole thing and just take a look at the way. And it just goes for the electronics. Like interconnects, we have problems with that. It shows you plug in a set of RC interconnects that's not quite in all the way. You
Yeah,
know,
right.
especially if they have locking connectors,
Oh, yeah.
locking RCAs where you can snug the tightness. And of course, someone puts it in the bag, pulls it out, and snugs it. Now
Yeah.
you go to plug it in and
It
it's
just
snug,
goes
so
a
it
little bit,
stops
yeah.
before it's all the way in. It's not going in, but it feels like it's in.
Or the little
tip
tip
never
on the
makes
thing is
connection.
bent,
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it
right.
doesn't make good contact.
All kinds of reasons. So yeah, always go. If something doesn't work, don't panic. Or someone might have been vacuuming or cleaning the house and hit something. Go shut everything off. Go through the whole thing as if you're starting from new and just take a look at it. Don't panic. It's probably something stupid. It's almost always mechanical. These failures. It's very. Unless you pour water on an amplifier,
Well,
it's very few times
actually,
electrical.
It's like 85% of the time it's not plugged in. That's usually
Something
It's a
is-
lot.
It's a connection.
Yeah, that's really.
It's a connection somewhere.
Yep.
And IEC connectors are like that too. A lot of people don't have a lot of experience with, the 3-prong connectors like on the back of a full-size computer.
Same thing. Sometimes they're stiff when they're new.
Yeah,
you
they
really
don't
got to
push
jam them in.
Yeah, because almost all the electronics, the desktop stuff, has those jacks. They call it an IEC.
Yep.
And at first, just you kind of give it a little wiggle and constant pressure until it stops. And that's important because you don't want, if it's not in all the way, you can get arcing.
Oh yeah.
Or it won't turn on at all.
Yeah, because it'll probably still work like halfway seated, but then it'll slowly fall out, and then
Yeah.
it'll stop working and be like, it's plugged in.
Yeah, out of nowhere, it just stops.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Right.
those are when brand new. Those are something to pay attention to. And actually, rule of thumb is as the system ages. I mean, I don't know how old. Let's say once every couple of years. It's not a bad idea to turn everything off and just unplug and plug in all the connections because you're basically you're rubbing two contacts together and you're cleaning them while you're doing that. It's actually a cleaning
Yeah.
effect.
Depends on your environment and how complicated your system
Even
is.
wall plugs.
Oh, yeah.
Potentially.
Yeah, I mean they're just brass, shitty brass outlet unless you buy a real
Once you get
outlet,
fancy ones.
$200 outlet,
Oh.
audiophile grade that are like nickel plated or gold plate. Now we're talking. Those don't tarnish, but a typical outlet in a home will actually tarnish over time. And even just by unplugging and plugging a connector, and you're actually cleaning. They're made to self-clean, aren't they? In some respects?
Usually, yeah.
You know,
Depends
by
on the
doing that.
design.
In fact, isn't that why they put the hole? They used to put the holes in the ends of the spits prongs.
Apparently not.
Isn't it? I thought that's what it was for the clean, the way the contacts were set up.
According to the video I saw on the internet,
Yeah.
and you can't put it on the internet if it's not true,
Oh, yeah.
those serve no function.
Oh. No, see, that's what I learned way back. But I think they made outlets different back then.
Probably
Probably,
uphill
yeah.
both ways.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think we should be clear, though, for the 3 people that make it to the end of the video. Generally, these systems are very reliable, and you don't need to worry about them that much. Like, for the most part, you plug it in, it works fine. But there are, of course, outliers, people that have an unusual setup, or they don't know, or they do something that's weird or whatever, and they could have problems from it. But generally speaking, there isn't much to worry about. Systems usually work
It's
fine.
kind of like anything in a home, like a TV. You plug it
Yeah.
in, it works.
We're not trying to generate fear, uncertainty, and doubt here.
Yeah.
Like, most of the stuff's fine.
Yeah.
But there is one thing that I still run into from time to time that gets me though,
Yeah.
and that's next to the IEC. Some amps and DACs and stuff have a switch there and a front switch.
Oh, right.
So you're like, well, it's plugged in. Why
Two
isn't
switches?
it turning on?
Yeah.
Yeah, sneaky.
A master switch
Right.
on the back
Yep.
that really takes the power off.
Extra off.
Yeah, extra off. It's off.
Mm.
And as opposed to the one on the front. You know?
Right.
Which, I mean, which is something actually you should consider too. That's something to consider, is that some stuff doesn't turn off
Right.
when it's off on the front.
Right.
So you really, if you're playing around with connections in the back, unplugging it is absolutely the safe bet.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
You don't have to.
Usually
but,
you don't need to go that far, but it's
Yeah.
a safer bet,
yeah,
sure.
sure. 'Cause
Well, it's like-
it's off.
Like no TV anymore is ever off. They're just on all the time.
Yeah.
They don't have hard power switches or anything. Just sit and stand by all the time.
Pretty much nothing turns off
Yeah.
anymore.
Other than that, I mean, headphones and electronics are pretty straightforward. I mean, they're made to sit on a desktop, in a normal environment, room environment, and they just do what they do. So there's not a whole lot there to worry about. The only other thing I could think of is we never talked about volume, as in you never start at full volume and plug a headphone into an
Well,
amp. That's
Yeah.
something you don't do. You don't start at full volume. You start at minimum volume
Right.
and then turn it up till it's acceptable.
The main reason for that is you don't know what volume it's going to be when you plug it in. And when you plug one headphone in, you set it to a good volume, you might think, well, if I unplug it, I plug a different headphone in, I'll get the same volume. That's not the case. That's only if the sensitivity and impedance are similar. If they're massively mismatched, you could get a wild difference in volume, and you could actually blow one headphone up at a same volume level that was good and comfortable on another headphone.
All headphones are different in the amount of level volume they need. So just beware that if anytime you go to change a headphone, again, etiquette says turn the volume down, change the headphone, turn the volume back up.
Right.
That's it. It's simple. And that'll solve you all kinds of problems.
Eventually, you'll do it without even thinking. Like you don't even
It's
think about it
automatic.
anymore.
Yeah, no. Yeah, right. It's automatic.
Yeah.
That's the sort of thing people don't talk about too much online. And I guess it sort of raises the question, how loud is too loud, though? But generally speaking, it very much depends on the headphone, like always. You need to play really loud for it to damage the headphone. The trouble is there's not really a great way to say how loud really loud
Yeah, everyone,
is.
that's a relative figure.
Because at trade shows,
Yeah.
some people are just like, they think they're 2-channel desktop speakers or something, how
Well,
loud they play
it's like
these
those
things.
people we taled about a number of videos ago where they stand in front of the stacks at a
Oh,
concert
yeah.
and they're
Right.
10 feet away from 50,000 watts of power and they love it. I mean, a headphone's not. Can you imagine if they tried to duplicate their headphone? They're going to blow
Yeah,
every one of
and
them
blow
up.
everything up. We've had people say that. We have had people come to us say, hey, I had this other brand headphone and I blew up 3 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, yeah.
What are you doing?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or the opposite. I never was able to blow up my other one, but yours blew
Sure.
up.
Yeah. Whatever.
It's like, okay, well, what do you got it hooked up to? Well, a 200 watt stereo amp.
Right. I'm driving a 200 dB.
Yeah. Wait.
Yeah.
A tube stereo amplifier with 6 or 8 KT88 tubes
Oh,
in
yeah.
it. Yeah. Oh, is that all? Oh, to run a headphone. Yeah, it throws off 250 watts of heat.
Yeah. And tube amplifiers probably don't leave them on all the time.
Yeah, right.
We'll throw it at
Not
the
to
end where
do-
nobody sees it.
Yeah, right. Should mention that because I don't think it's said enough. If you buy a tube amp, not a preamp, not a low power device, but an amp. Yeah. When you're not using them, You need to turn them
Probably
off.
turn it off. But solid state, most of the time it doesn't matter. You can leave it on if you want.
Well, even a preamp though, the tubes will eventually fail.
Yeah, but they're good for like 10,000 hours.
Well, we've actually ran into that once. We used to have a tube preamp in the shop, and it was like on, all day, every day. And after like 6 or 7 years, the tubes did fail one day. It was just like, like, oh.
But if you get into the subtleties of tubes and preamps, you'll find that I'm going off topic.
Yeah.
But
Uh-huh.
you may hit tubes age as they're used, and their sound varies as they age.
Uh-huh.
It's kind of like whiskey, right?
Oh.
Same thing.
Scotch.
Hmm.
The taste varies as it ages, right?
Mhm.
And but bottom line is that there is somewhere in a tube's life you might hit this ultimate sweet spot. Could be 5,000 hours in.
Mm.
Now, if you never use the damn thing, you'll never hit the sweet spot. If you
Yeah,
always
but
turn it off.
if you keep using it, once you hit it, then you'll get out of that sweet
But we're
spot.
talking about preamps now, low
Oh.
power, not amplifiers. So with it, the difference is with amplifiers, those tubes run way hotter.
Well, yeah.
And anything that runs very, very hot tends to have a reduced life. So heat can be an issue if it's not properly designed, ventilated, etc. So
Yeah.
anyway, the bigger the tube, which I'm talking like tubes like this versus bigger the tube, the less life it's going to have.
If it runs burning
in
hot, don't
hours.
leave it on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not a good idea.
Yeah.
No, it's a safety thing too.
Well, yeah.
You know, I wouldn't want to not be home and have a big tube amp throwing hundreds of watts of heat sitting on my floor.
Well, that's
just
the other
on all
problem.
the time.
It's like leaving a
It's not a good
space heater
idea.
on, too.
Yeah,
So-
right. Yeah, why bother? If you're not there, what are you heating?
Yeah.
So
Especially in
anyway,
the summer.
kind of a rule of thumb with tubes in general.
Yep.
But solid state, yeah, I mean, they tend to sound better when they're at warm operating temperature, and almost all solid state you could just leave on as long as you can handle the
Yeah,
electric
usually
bill.
it lasts so long and it doesn't really matter that much.
Yeah. So this lower power stuff, it doesn't matter. I think that kind of covers that. That's the basics in a nutshell of what not to do and why.
Things to avoid.
Yeah, things to avoid, pitfalls to avoid when starting out new stuff. But if you have any questions with new stuff too, call us, email us, whatever. Any way to contact us.
ESP.
Yeah,
Mm.
send up smoke signals.
Mm.
whatever.
That probably won't work.
Probably won't work.
We won't catch that. Yeah,
No.
yeah, you're right. It's too far away.
Mm.
How'd they do that back in the day?
Well, they were looking.
Maybe they were closer back then. I don't know.
Everybody was closer back then?
Yeah,
Maybe.
Everyone lived in a 3 square mile radius.
And on that note, everyone should have a happy Halloween.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Even the Spidey, he's going back.
Oh.
Hmm.
Take care, everyone. Thank you for watching.